thank you so much for talking to us at Henley Swim, Christien. You are a women's health physio and co-founder of Menopause Movement, and also the owner of a medical and therapy clinic in Southwest London.
That's correct. That's right.
That's good. Good start then. Now, could you tell us, we're talking to you today because a very large percentage of our swimmers are women in their 40s to 60s. Overwhelmingly, we find that we have all sorts of people swimming from all age groups and all different swim tribes, but we do have a lot of women in that age bracket. So we're really interested to talk to you. And could you just, in a nutshell, describe to us what Menopause Movement does?
Sure. So Menopause Movement is an online training platform for health and fitness professionals. We did this just before lockdown. Basically, there's a very brief history of that. Just before lockdown, we organized a big sort of academic study days for the chartered physios in pelvic health and women's health. And then lockdown happened. We had to put it online, which in a way was kind of, in retrospect, the best thing that happened at the time. So we had to film it all, etc. With a multidisciplinary team, like a gynecologist, a psychologist, a dietitian, nutrition. And then when we put it online, it was only available for pelvic health physios because it was organized by the professional body. And then we had so many professionals contacting us if they could do the course as well. So we realized that clearly was a huge knowledge gap with coaches, with PTs, with the general fitness world and also other healthcare professionals, that we decided to launch Menopause Movement. So with this very similar team as we've worked with for years, because we all used to do speak at public events about the menopause, we with a similar team and a few additions to it. So at the moment, our team of experts is a fantastic gynecologist who does sort of all the HRT, all, debunking all the myths around that. A really fantastic dietitian who looks more like a celeb chef, who talks about the sort of food side, also nutritionist, a psychologist, and myself. And I mainly talk about strength training, movement, and a lot about pelvic health, because of course that's my bias, because this sort of cohort of women you were just referring to from 40 to 60, one of their main barrier to exercise can be pelvic health as well, bladder issues, bowel issues, etc. So the course very much bridges the gap between health and fitness professionals, because I don't think they always work closely enough together, and we can only be effective as a multidisciplinary team. We got about 600 members now. The majority of them are coaches. Actually, last year we did speak at the Swimmers Teachers Association as well, which was a fantastic day. So I think for our cohort, swimming is just one of those sports, like you're saying, that women into the menopause. And when we talk about menopause, we're not just talking about that group of the perimenopause. We're also talking about women beyond the menopause into the post-menopause. That's swimming is just a fantastic, accessible and inclusive sport, in particular open water swimming.
Yeah, good. Well, that's fantastic. We find that too. Yeah. And you yourself, I know that you are a very active person, and I believe you took part in the World Aquathlon. How do you say that?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's
championships.
It's aquathlon, I think.
Aquathlon championships in 2022, and we've established that you've swum in every single one of our Henley Swim events, including the half marathon last year. Why should women keep active as they get older, and how do you think it affects their experience of the menopause?
Okay, so thanks for looking all that up. I'm very impressed. So we actually did the World Aquathlon, which is like a run, a swim, and then a run in 23 as well, because it was in Ibiza, so it was even better. It was even
fantastic.
And although the World Championships, its age group sounds like something really highly ambitious, it's actually a really friendly bunch of people. And we mainly all there to have a lot of fun as well, and a reason to go out and do training. I suppose into the menopause, I think sort of the key thing that we want to put across, because at the moment, the good news is that menopause in itself is really having a moment. Everyone is talking about it. Celebs are talking about it, which is brilliant. But a lot of the discussion is about hormone treatment. which is correct, and it's a really big part of managing menopause symptoms. But I think what often gets forgotten, and if you look at the medical and sort of clinical evidence around it, is that movement almost is more effective than most other things. It's such a no-brainer. So women staying active in the menopause is so important because they basically lose their anabolic steroids. So our female reproductive hormone, estrogen, into the perimenopause start fluctuating like crazy, causing all those symptoms from hot flushes to mood changes, joint pain, a whole, there's about 45 symptoms of the menopause, and nearly every week one gets added to it as well. So really into the perimenopause, our estrogen, which is our anabolic steroids, that what makes us recover and bounce back after exercise, keep our lean muscle mass, starts fluctuating. Really, if you give a 3-year-old a crayon and ask them to draw a graft, that's the graft of our sort of estrogen into our perimenopause, really. And then, of course, it lowers and flatlines post-menopause. So with that complete hormonal change, because our sort of estrogen is very similar to, although we've got some testosterone as well, as men have testosterone. So our recovery changes, we increase our body fat, we reduce our lean muscle mass, like our voluntary muscles. A lot of that can be reversed by being physically active. Plus, on top of being physically active, especially sort of higher, moderate and higher intensity training also help mood changes, cardiovascular health, which is really important because into the menopause, when we lose that estrogen, we very quickly catch up with men in terms of cardiovascular disease as well. So it's almost a no-brainer in terms of reducing cancer risk, in terms of low mood, depression, anxiety, in terms of cardiovascular health and prevention dementia. You almost name it, and there's almost nothing, development of diabetes too. There's almost no health outcome that is not impacted positively by exercising.
Okay, so, and you said you can reverse the symptoms. It's not just a case of warding them off or reducing them. You can actually go back.
Yeah, that's a really good question, because there's two things that in terms of symptoms, there is now enough evidence, and moving medicine, if anyone is interested in that, is a really good resource for that, because they've done all the sort of meta-analysis and literature review on this. So managing symptoms into the menopause, certain type of movement, especially more moderate and high intensity exercise, can be really helpful. Then obviously in terms of bone health and osteoporosis, which is accelerated into the menopause, you can either reverse it or at least maintain it, and most certainly maintain that lean muscle mass. And really, at the end of the day, like we completely simplify it, what women need is still that lean muscle mass. And that's what we lose very quickly into the menopause. And if somehow or another we can maintain it, it improves nearly every health outcome. So what we're always saying, kind of, because there's this 80-year-old I always use for conferences who does the aquathlons, the worlds as well. And she's in the 80 to 85 category. And I was watching her at the start at one point. I was looking at her in her tri-suit and thought, she really has still got a bum in her trousers.
Really?
In her tri-suit. It means she still has glutes.
Yeah.
And I think most certainly as physios, and I think a lot of coaches as well, it's such a familiar sight that we see frail elderly ladies and they've got no bum in their trousers left. It's just straight. Yeah. Often behind the Zimmer frame as well. And so watching Peggy, and she knows I always quote her, but still a proper bum in that tri-suit. I mean, she's still got glutes and all her lean muscle mass. It is possible because she keeps.
Okay, yeah, because she keeps using it.
And that's why we, like all women into the 80s or 90s, with the mantra, like aging is inevitable, but fragility is not. So strong bones.
So that's a good aim. Keep the bum.
Yeah. Bums in trousers.
Okay, bums and trousers. I like that. That's a good aim for 2024.
Yeah.
No matter what age. So obviously the benefits of movement, you've spelled them out there brilliantly. What do you think about, is there anything specific to do with swimming, open water swimming, cold water swimming? What's your sort of take on that?
Sure. Obviously, swimming has got some additional benefits that other sports may not have. I think a lot of it is also about sort of confidence. Often people, when they worry about joint pain, etc., feels they can still access swimming. But what we do know that swimming really does help our muscles and joints, but also like our blood pressure and lymphatic system. And our lymphatic system often gets forgotten about, but in the menopause that really declines as well. And our lymphatic system is a little bit like our super sewage system, that everything sort of flushes through. And swimming, we now know, helps that. Also high blood pressure, which obviously is a really high risk factor in menopausal women in terms of cardiovascular, in terms of heart health, is helped by swimming. Most of the studies are done around walking and cycling, but there are some sort of smaller studies that really show the benefit of swimming in terms of reducing blood pressure as well. Swimming also, we now know, decreases what we call vascular stiffness. So your blood vessels are less stiff, so they stay more mobile and more supple, which is fantastic, because we do catch up with men, like I said earlier, in terms of stroke and heart disease. And then, of course, the added benefit is swimming in cooler water as well. So it seems that goosebumps are a really good thing for us in terms of weight management, cardiovascular health, again, sort of all, I don't know if this is something familiar to you, and it probably is with your interest in open water swimming, but it's that brown fat thermogenesis. There's some small studies that if we, not quite hypothermia, but if on most days we reduce our body temperature by 1 or 2 degrees, it really helps us metabolically, because it sort of stimulates that sort of healthy brown fat. And healthy brown fat has got loads of mitochondria. And mitochondria are these, on a cellular level, these little energy powerhouses in our cells. And they basically are very good at burning taking up oxygen and burning fats and glucose and turning it into energy. So it means we've got more energy, we've got more oxygen in our muscles, and we burn more fat. And I think for most women, that is quite a big.
They all sound fantastic.
Yes.
So that again would be the that would be the benefit of a cold shower every day as well. That would be that
that's
lowering
right, absolutely.
of the body temperature.
As far as I understand, it's got to be really quite cold. So it's got to really slightly reduce your body temperature and be sort of uncomfortable. But that generally, I think, in terms of training, and that's why open water swimming and being cold fits in so well. It's always when we're out of our comfort zone that we get the benefit.
Right.
Yeah. And I think what is really important in swimming, and that's why we love swim coaches to be on our course as well, that because the high intensity training becomes so important for women, we tend to maintain our sort of endurance fitness, and we still need to work on that. But we do need to add like sprint intervals and higher intensity, because that's where we get the real lean muscle mass benefit. That means in swimming, we might want to think of, so now and again, add some flippers or pedals to do some higher intensities. Or and also for bone health, we need a bit of impact, but it could just be that after a swim, jump up and down for a couple of minutes to warm up and have some impact as well. So how can we sort of integrate in open water swimming all those other health benefits as well? So we, as coaches, it doesn't really matter what discipline we teach, but that we integrate all those different aspects. And the other thing I think that's so important as well for coaches to understand is that in terms of bone health, that our exercise needs to be multi-directional. So let's say someone who only ever runs, that's very linear, or someone that only ever front crawls, but doesn't really do any other strokes. So add a few other strokes to it, do a few other things like different directions. So we really want muscles to pull on bones in all different directions, add a bit of impact, add a bit of resistance. And in a way, water has got so much resistance that we already got the resistance there.
In all directions.
Yeah, that's right. It just means that so now and again, you might have to absolutely belt down a lane in the swimming pool and try to go as fast as you can until you're completely out of breath. But swimming can sort of introduce most of those things, really.
So it sounds like pressurizing your body in all sorts of different ways and new ways and challenging ways, and a sort of slight element of when you get too comfortable, it's not really working anymore.
No, and I understand with the cold water benefit as well. It really is, once it gets comfortable, you get the adaptation, you do need to bump it up again.
Okay.
Because otherwise, once your body is used to it, you don't get the same benefits. So we
Yeah.
always say to women when we treat them as well, we come and pick you up from the floor, kind of just exercise until you really fall to the floor, and we come and pick you up, because that's really where the benefits,
Okay.
where the benefits is.
Great. So
Yeah,
pushing
yeah,
harder. Yeah.
yeah. I'm afraid so. Yeah,
No,
that
no.
little
I
bit
mean,
of
this
discomfort.
is good. I mean, it's everything you're saying is backed by research and experience.
Yeah,
So, it's so
yeah,
great to hear it. Um, I've got one more question. It's a
sure.
little bit less serious. Um, although obviously this is a fun interview in lots of ways. For you, as we said, you've done many Henley swims. Have you got any standout moments from any of your swims? Obviously,
Let me
some of
just
them are
think.
quite memorable, early mornings, long distances.
Yeah, I think that early morning we had that bad luck year when the fog was so thick that
Oh,
we
the
all
classic.
had to wait for a little bit, but then it was still a beautiful swim. I think my favorite moment was probably the club to pub one, when you sort of enter by the pub and you get the medal, which is your bottle opener. That was just such fun. And also standing there, because that night it was raining, but it didn't matter because we all had our wetsuits on, etc. But then some people coming out of the pub half drunk, looking around, like, what are all these people doing here in wetsuits? It was just such a surreal and fun experience. And then also, I suppose, the half marathon swim, that was the longest swim I've ever done, because originally I used to row. That's probably why we love the Henley Swim, because we used to row there. So all my training body, swimming is a relatively, so the last 5 or 10 years we started doing that. And that marathon swim obviously was a little bit more out of our comfort zone, because I'd never swum for that long, but that was great fun as well, just especially getting out for the locks, and then just having a little bit of lunch. And I think what really stood out of that one, when we're all taken to the start in those double-decker buses, so slightly vintage ones, and we were going over the motorway, and you see people in car looking at us, all sitting there sort of half wetsuits, half naked. So I think, what are those people doing? So I think I like it because they're quite unusual events, really, and they are fun, but they also challenge. They also
Yeah,
challenge you, and for us, it's a reason to get out and go training, because once we've
yeah.
got an event in the diary, it means we get motivated to do a little bit of exercise, a little bit
And
of
I think
exercise.
that sort of slightly sums up the advice you're giving: fun but challenge. Keep
Yeah,
yourself challenged, but with a smile on your face, with people you like doing it with.
exactly. It's got to, and I think the nice thing about open water swim, what always amazes me about that, because I know that for a lot of women, the barrier to exercise in the menopause is sort of body awareness, losing their body confidence. They put on weight, they feel they're not fit enough, or they're too fat to exercise. So shame is actually quite a big barrier to women, which breaks your heart, really. But the nice thing about the open water community, I don't think anyone cares in open water swimming what they look like in a swimsuit. It kind of almost goes beyond beyond
I
that.
think that's
Once
very true. And we see
once you've
this
got your wetsuit
amazing,
on,
yeah, and
you
we see
don't
this
feel you need
amazing
to.
movement, the blue tits, who are very much, that's what it's
Yes,
all about, isn't it? Feeling better
yeah.
together and, hang
Yeah,
what you
because the
look
blue
like.
tits people, that's right. They've done our menopause movement course as well, and they just do that so well, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's kind of really, you don't need a bikini body. No one cares, whatever that is, a bikini body anyway. So
exactly. Yeah.
that's, and I think that's a real positive thing about, it's definitely not a sort of place that you have to be a certain size or shape or fit in. Everyone seems to fit in very well in the open water swim community. We go swimming quite a lot in Shepperton as well. It's always like that. Everyone hangs around, all ages, all shapes, all sizes. And,
Yeah.
it
It's good
seems
fun.
fun. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, absolutely.
absolutely. Well, Christian, that is really fantastic. It's really interesting hearing about what we should all be doing, and and also great to know that swimming is such an amazing boost for our health.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you so much for talking to us today.
And I'm looking forward to seeing you at some events next
Yeah,
year. Or
yeah,
this
that would be
year, this
great.
year.